Well. This is Watu-K99 for New York Sports Wicker Media, and I am broadcasting live from the Wicker Chair. Although by the time you watch this, it will no longer be live. But it is live as I'm recording it, although I guess all recordings would work that way now, wouldn't they? So I wanted to give a little bit of attention to an article I wrote today about why I believe the Mets will still win the NL East. And there is a whole lot of panic right now among Mets Nation. Their lead, which was double digits about a month ago, has since shrunk down to 3.5 games over the dreaded Atlanta Braves. The Braves' 14-game winning streak did a lot to take that number down, but the Mets playing, mostly decent baseball. They haven't exactly gone into the tank, but they are not playing with the same level of success that they were before. Ground balls and line drives that would find the outfield are now being stopped by the infield. The bullpen remains inconsistent. A little bit of a lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. Very reminiscent of the 2021 season, even the 2019 season. So I have three main reasons why I believe the Mets will win this division. Now, the article that is on my blog, nysportswickermedia.blogspot.com, there will be a link to that in the description. So go ahead and check that out, but I did want to mention these things briefly in case you wanted to just watch it in video form. So, number one, I have tremendous confidence in Buck Showalter. Considering that as this team has been coming up and this core has been being established over the last 4 years or so, the managers have been Mickey Callaway and Luis Rojas. Completely overmatched. Buck Showalter will never be outmanaged in a game. He will never be outprepared in a game. Doesn't mean he's infallible, but I have every confidence in the world Buck Showalter knows what he's doing and he knows these players. I have confidence that this is not the final Mets roster, number two. This roster is going to get reinforced. The first thing I would do is address the bullpen. In the article, I have a couple of names in mind that I think would definitely help. I will say this. I think the bullpen is getting a little bit too much hate because, let's be realistic, bullpens are now 8 or 9 players deep, okay? You're not going to have 8 Mariano Riveras in the bullpen. It's just not feasible at this point. But what you want are a couple of pitchers, just a couple of guys that you can consider reliable in a big spot. Now, probably after Edwin Diaz, the great Edwin Diaz, I would like to point that out, you have Seth Lugo, Drew Smith, and Adam Ottavino. Those are probably your next 3 pitchers out of the bullpen. Now, Ottavino and Smith are getting a lot of hate right now. Lugo's got plenty of hate over the course of the season. But Smith and Ottavino in particular, they both allowed 9th-inning home runs to Houston in the last week, to players that not too many people have heard of. And, you got a bunch of Mets fans ready to dump these guys on the Grand Central Parkway. Well, going into that game, did you know Adam Ottavino had given up 1 run in 7 weeks? Going in, and now his ERA is a whole 2.86. Horrible ERA, 2.86, isn't it? And then Drew Smith, he had a great start to the season. Now his numbers are going up a little bit. He has an ERA all the way up at 2.48, and his WHIP, walks and hits divided by inning pitched, is just 1.07. Which I'll take that from my relievers anytime. So I feel like bullpens are like place kickers in football. They just get so much knocking because you expect perfection, and if they're not perfect, then they're going to be ripped. Now, I would like to see a little bit of reinforcements for this bullpen. I'm just going to stick with this for right now. I talked a little bit about the other thing I talked about, by the way, is the strength of schedule. But I'm going to leave that for the article because I really broke that down. I put a lot of numbers in it. I don't want to give you guys a bunch of numbers right now without, putting them on the screen or anything like that. So just want to mention 1 or 2 of my ideas for the bullpen. So one guy that there's a couple guys I would look at, and that's what I'm going to focus on here. Some of the possible trade targets. Number 1, David Bednar of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Right now, he is their closer. Here's his stats for the year. I'm going to give you these. In 36 innings this year, his ERA is 2.5. His WHIP is 1.0. He's averaging 12.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. So that's about a little over one strikeout per inning, and 11 saves. So you remember last year when the Braves got Richard Rodriguez, the Pirates closer, to reinforce their bullpen, and he really did a great job. Now it's the Mets' turn to do the exact same thing. Bednar, this is even better. Bednar is only 27. He's got 4 years of control, so he's not making much money. So you don't have to take on a whole lot of salary. And he's got a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He counters that with a curveball and an occasional changeup. The only concern I have with Bednar is what is it going to cost to get an asset like this? It could take a Ronnie Mauricio, a Brett Beatty. I don't think the Mets are going to give up elite prospects like they did last year when they gave up a Pete Crow Armstrong for a Javier Baez. And let's talk about another couple of relievers. Joe Mantiply. He is a lefty for the Arizona Diamondbacks, 31 years old. He's pitched 29 innings. He's got 2 saves. In those 29 innings, he's allowed only 4 earned runs, 24 hits, and he's only walked 1 batter. That's what I like. I don't want to see, if you are a reliever and you can't control where the ball's going, unless you're throwing like 100 miles an hour as a closer, and you just have this ridiculous heat. You have to be able to locate the ball somewhat to last in the major leagues, which he has. But Mantiply's ERA is 1.24. His WHIP is 0.86. And he gets a lot of ground balls. 60% of the contact that batters have against him turns into a ground ball. Now think about that. With the Mets having an infield defense of Alonso, who's getting better, but throw in Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor, Luis Guillorme, maybe Eduardo Escobar, but Guillorme's getting a lot of playing time lately. Mantiply can have all the success in the world that the Mets defense is going to take care of those ground balls and turn them into outs. One other guy I want to mention, he's more of a veteran, is Daniel Bard, who's the current closer for the Colorado Rockies. 37 years old, but he has dominated during this season. He has pitched 29 innings this year also, just like Mantiply. He's allowed 15 hits and 13 walks to go with 36 strikeouts, 15 saves, 2.12 ERA, and a 0.94 WHIP. So he's averaging less than 1 base runner each inning that he pitches. Now, at this point, he is a sinker and slider pitcher. He's throwing an 98-mile-an-hour sinker. Whew. Sounds a little bit like J. Reese Familia to me. And he's mixing in an 88-mile-an-hour slider. And also, he's a free agent at the end of the season, so he would not cost as much as, say, a Bednar would. So, and the other thing I would do in the bullpen? Now, you can't do this for a little while, but when Tyler McGill comes back from his shoulder injury, I'd insert him in the bullpen. If they can't acquire a guy to go in the bullpen, maybe you could use McGill as like a 2-inning pitcher, the way the Yankees used Mariano Rivera back in 1996. Not as your closer, but he's got a lot of heat, and you know what? Maybe you can insert him as that sort of bridge to the closer that nobody else has. So that's another way that you could do it. So I wanted to focus on the bullpen right now because that's my biggest concern. But in the article, I'm going to talk more about who I would look into acquiring as a batter, who I would be willing to call up. And like I said before, I'm going to really break down the strength of schedule for both the Mets and the Braves. And let's take a look at who's got the advantage in terms of opponents going forward. I'm really proud of the article. Spent some time on it. And if you're a Mets fan, I hope you'll check it out, share it with a friend, and I look forward to talking with you soon, and I hope everybody has a fantastic 4th. I'll talk to you soon from, well, you know where, the Wicker Chair.